Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome members, officers, and members of the public to this meeting of the Council. Before the meeting starts, I would like to invite the committee member and scrutiny officer to update you on the systems being used and confirm that officers in remote attendance are present. Your microphone's not on.
Good evening. We have no officers joining us remotely this evening. If a member wishes to speak, they should use the speak button located on the microphone unit. The microphone will light up green and the chair will be alerted of your request to speak. When the chair invites you to speak, your microphone will be made live and will turn red, at which point you can speak. The normal procedure rules in respect of debate and times to speak will apply. When requested to vote, voting will be via the yes, no, abstain buttons on your microphone unit. Details of how members voted will be shown on the screens around the room and the result will be visible on the YouTube stream. In the event of a tied vote, the chair will have the casting vote. Are there any questions before we start the meeting? I will now hand back to the chair.
Thank you. Apologies for absence. I have received apologies for absence from councillors Chris Hinchliffe, Daniel Marsh, Terry Tyler, Kathy Brown-John, Faye Frost, and Tom Plater. Are there any further apologies? Councillor Bloxham.
We have the Dewan sends his apologies, and I think we might have one that's a bit late on his way down.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Councillor Rog Bakar.
Thank you. Item 2, minutes of the 28th of September 2023. I'd like to propose that we take as read and approve as a true record the minutes of the meeting of the Council held on the 28th of September 2023. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Dennis.
Yep, happy to second, Chair.
Any comments on the minutes? In that case, may we go to the vote, please?
Yeah, that motion is carried.
Thank you very much. Notification of other business. There has been no other business advised. Number 4, the Chair's announcements. Audio recording. In accordance with Council policy, this meeting is being recorded. The recordings will be available on both the Council's YouTube page as well as on the Council's ModGov site. Climate emergency. Members are reminded that this Council has declared a climate emergency. This is a serious decision and means that as this is an emergency, all of us, officers and members, have that in mind as we carry out various roles and tasks for the benefit of our district. Number 3, the declaration of interests. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item. The detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out under the Chair's announcements on the agenda. And before the rules of debate, please can I remind you that normal procedured rules of debate and times to speak will apply. No speeches may be made after the mover has moved a motion and explained the purpose of it until the motion has been seconded. When seconding a motion or amendment, a member may reserve their speech until later in the debate. In accordance with the Constitution, please can members ensure that no speech exceeds 5 minutes without the consent of the Chair, and nobody has approached me about that today. Comfort break. For the purpose of clarification, 4.8.23a of the Constitution does not apply to this meeting. Therefore, a member may leave the room during the debate and consideration of that item and still be able to vote. However, Please be mindful of the business of the agenda and wherever possible, leave an appropriate point in the proceedings. I will take a comfort break at an appropriate time in the meeting should proceedings continue at length. Number 6, the Chair's Civic Awards and Event 2024. Members should have received an email formally inviting you to my civic event and the awards ceremony for the North Herts Heroes. This will take place at Hitchin Town Hall on Friday, the 1st of March, 2024 from 7:30. Tickets are available online. All proceeds from this event will be donated to the chosen charities, which are Feed Up, Warm Up and Resolve. The donation of raffle prizes would be greatly appreciated. And if you have any raffle prizes to donate, or if you know of any companies who wish to donate, all of this is raising money for Feed Up, Warm Up and Resolve. Please contact committee services or the chair secretary or me. Number 5, public participation. We have no public participation at this meeting. Number 6, questions from members. I've had one question submitted by a councillor in accordance with Standing Order 4.8.11. Health and care services in Royston. Can I invite Councillor Matt Barnes to put the question to Councillor Elizabeth Dennis, Leader of the Council?
Thank you, Chair, and good evening. Following the Health and Care Act last year, NHS health and care services in Royston and the surrounding villages have fallen under the remit of the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Integrated Care System. Please could the leader update members on the nature of any communications which have taken place between council representatives and the Integrated Care Board or the Integrated Care Partnership since July 2022 on behalf of the residents of Royston.
Yes. Thank you very much, Chair. And I'm grateful to Councillor Barnes for the question. I think we have the bizarre situation that the alphabet soup and of whatever happens when the NHS is reorganised has resulted in the anomaly of part of this district falling under a different integrated care system as a result of the way that care and commissioning works in that part of the NHS. So I think firstly, it's important to note the reasons why Royston doesn't sit as part of the Hertfordshire and West Essex integrated care system. In terms of the specifics of the question, the Director for Housing and Environmental Health has been in communication with the Chief Officer Partnerships and Strategies of the Cambridge and Peterborough ICS. And she is also aware that the Cambridge and Peterborough ICS invited Herts and West Essex to work with them regarding the community engagement exercise that was carried out in Royston, which I know colleagues from across multiple parties have been really active on getting, trying to encourage residents to engage with this, to ensure that their voices and feedback are heard as part of the survey and the focus groups, which will run over the summer. These exercises will obviously help inform a strategic fit document that will be produced by Cambridge and Peterborough ICS. And we hope that that will include an exercise around older adults and enhanced mental health and wellbeing support that's currently being funded actually via Hertfordshire County Council's Public Health Department. Colleagues will obviously be aware of certain examples that have been funded via that part. For example, the men's health clubs that have been pioneered at the Royston Leisure Centre. North Herts Council obviously doesn't deliver any services directly from NHS-owned sites in Royston, but as I've indicated, there is close working between health and care partners, which does need to continue in order to provide the high quality services for residents across the district. And just because Royston isn't included within the Herts and West Essex ICS doesn't mean that that body is failing to consider the needs of those residents either. And in fact, at a meeting of the Integrated Care Partnership this afternoon in Stevenage, I raised the point in respect of Royston with health colleagues, and they are continuing to work jointly with colleagues in Cambridge and Peterborough. The Herts and West Essex ICB and ICS is significantly further ahead in terms of its development and strategy implementation than colleagues in Cambridge and Peterborough as well. So is ideally placed to help support the infrastructure that is over the border. And I hope that we can continue to work together to make sure that every single person in this district is supported and does have a voice when it comes down to their health.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dennis. Just before I check if you have a supplementary question, Councillor Barnes, I just wanted to apologise. We seem to be having some slight issues with our cameras this evening. Hopefully we'll be able to work those out as we go through. May I ask, Councillor Barnes, do you have a supplementary question?
I do. Yes. Thank you. I'll ask it now. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the answer. So following the recent public consultation, which you referred to, Let's Talk Royston, to which almost 1,800 people responded and made clear their widespread difficulties in accessing appointments, amongst other concerns. How will the leader ensure that the views of Royston residents will be listened to and that their needs will be addressed?
If you'll indulge me, Chair, I'll try not to repeat too much of what went before. So obviously, I sit on the Integrated Care Partnership and will continue to champion the needs of all residents in the Herts and West Essex space. As I said, the Director for Housing and Environmental Health is also in communication with the Chief Officer at Cambridge and Peterborough as well. So we will be continuing that ongoing work and continuing to lobby and to ensure that people in Royston are represented. I think all of us are acutely aware of the crisis in primary care within the NHS, not just in this district, but actually across the entire country. I shall not be political, Chair, you'll be glad to know. I shall not explore the reasons why the NHS might be in crisis. I'll leave that point hanging for colleagues to fill in. However, I think there are things that this council can continue doing. I know that some councillors in Royston have been working particularly hard around ensuring that certain NHS built assets like the Royston Hospital are retained for public use and might potentially be utilised should the Cambridge and Peterborough ICS be minded to provide local primary care services, such as an innovative thing like a health hub in the community. And we will continue to work with our colleagues cross-party and across all systems, including the two ICSs covering the district and the county council, to make sure that everybody is adequately represented. And there are also creative things that we in local government are able to do to help support the health needs of our residents. Let's not forget that we are able to provide safe homes, active communities, opportunities for leisure and healthy activity. We've already got the Healthy Hub that we provide. I've referenced the men's clubs. There's outdoor gym equipment as well that we have in place. So this council is doing a considerable amount of work to support the health of all residents across the district, and we will keep on doing that.
Thank you very much. Notice of motions. There are no motions received from members for this meeting. Items referred from other committees. 8A, the medium-term financial strategy referral from Cabinet, I will consider with item 11. Item 9, the review of polling districts, polling places and polling stations. Tom Marsh to present, please.
Thank you, Chair. The report provides the outcome of the review of polling districts, polling places and polling stations. It is a legal requirement for the council to conduct a full review every 5 years of its UK parliamentary polling districts and polling places. Although legally the review was required to commence and conclude between the 1st of October of this year and conclude by the 31st of January 2025, in practice, the council needs to conclude this review in a much shorter timescale at the meeting this evening by designating the polling districts and places as per the returning officer's proposals attached at Appendix A for several reasons. Firstly, the Boundary Commission for England recently concluded a review of parliamentary constituency boundaries, with the new boundaries set to be in place at the next UK parliamentary general election, which must take place by January 2025. This review must therefore account for the new parliamentary constituency boundaries as well as the existing ones, because of the possibility of a parliamentary by-election which took place before the next UK general election, which would be on the existing parliamentary boundary arrangements. Secondly, although this review is technically concerned with the polling districts, places and stations for parliamentary elections, in practice, the council needs to designate polling districts which are compatible with local government elections so that the electoral register can be structured in a way that enables all election types to be delivered. As you will be aware, the Local Government Boundary Commission for England also recently implemented new district board boundary arrangements for North Herts Council to take effect from the elections in May 2024, which also need to be reflected in the provision of these polling districts. Therefore, this review must account for the boundary changes at both parliamentary and local elections and must be concluded in time for the publication of the revised Register of Electors on the 1st of December 2023, so that North Hertfordshire has agreed and functioning polling districts and polling places ready to be used at the scheduled local elections in May 2024, as well as at the next general election. If the council opted to not designate the polling districts and polling places at this meeting, this would result in the need to republish the Register of Electors again in February, which, aside from the cost implications, would have severe repercussions on the electoral services team regarding our preparations for the forthcoming elections in May 2024. This is in addition to the extra burdens already being placed on the team due to the changes imposed by the Elections Act. In formulating the proposals, there has been considerable consultation, which is explained within section 5 of the report. Attached to the report at Appendix A are the returning officer's proposals regarding polling districts and polling places, including summaries of the consultation responses received and any considerations, particularly where alternative locations have been considered or proposed. Appendix B provides all of the formal responses received during the 4-week consultation period. And as part of the review, the council must also invite the acting returning officer for every parliamentary constituency, which is either wholly or partly within the North Hertfordshire administrative area. And therefore, the acting returning officer for Stevenage constituency was invited to make comment on our proposals, and the response received is included at Appendix C. I refer members to the recommendation that council designates the polling districts and polling places as per the returning officer's proposals attached as Appendix A to the submitted report effective as of 1st December 2023. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tom. May I have a proposer, please? Councillor Willoughby.
Very happy to propose, Chair, and thank you so much for all of the work that you've been putting into this, Tom.
Are there any questions for Tom? My apologies, Councillor Barnard. Yes, I will be asking for questions, then I will come back to you for your proposal, Tom. Alistair, thank you. Councillor Barnard.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to put on record that I think it is unfortunate, although probably unavoidable, that the residents and
Councillor Barnard, is this a question or is this for the debate?
it is a question.
Okay, if it's a question, then please do ask the question.
Absolutely. Was fair consideration given to the electorate of Langley Village, because there is no polling station in Langley Village now, and their nearest polling station will be in Whitwell, which is some 6 miles away, and there is no form of public transport connecting the two areas.
Good question. Sorry, Tom, would you like to respond?
Yeah, so we'd spoken to local ward members about this. I know Langley previously was a polling station. The previous polling station no longer available to us, and we had consulted with members about what options there were in Langley, because it's basically not many kind of community or no community buildings in the parish that we're aware of. So that the proposal was obviously for the neighbouring parish. I think it was at New Fellowship Hall, but we'd consulted with ward members, and they were for the Hitchwood and Who ward, which is the current ward, and had kind of been in support of that.
Did you have a supplementary question, Councillor Barnard?
Interesting. I would like to, you mentioned that you have spoken to the ward members. You haven't spoken to me, and I find it a little bit unfortunate. If we had been aware that there was going to be no opportunity, then I'm sure that we would have been able to speak with the electorate, and we have actually been able to borrow front rooms and things like that in the past. But it is now unfortunate, but thank you.
Right. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a question specific to Royston. As members will be aware, Royston also has town council wards, and at the same time as these boundaries were considered, there were many smaller town council wards put in as part of this. And The town council unanimously said that they didn't want all those, and we agreed to go ahead with it because that will be part of a governance review following these boundaries. So, but my question is therefore, we seem to have in the case of Heath and Meridian wards, we seem to have 2 polling stations that are very close together. I presume that's because of the tiny town wards that's been done to split those up. Will that be reviewed should the community governance decide that the town wards are going to be bigger than proposed currently?
Sorry. Yeah, so obviously, whilst legally we have to do it every 5 years, there's nothing to stop interim reviews. If at any point in between it was felt that there was a change in circumstance for that reason or any other reason that needed something to be amended like that, then yeah, that can be done.
Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the diligent work on this. It was great to see. It was great to see many polling stations carrying over, which is always helpful. I recently was a teller in mid Bedfordshire, where on a dark, cold night, a lot of voters showed up at the wrong station, despite what was printed on their polling cards. And my sense on the door was that did result in some people not voting. So my question for officers, given that there are a number of changes, a number of residents who will have a different polling station, is how many residents across the district will have a change in polling station, and with those specific residents who will have a change in their polling station, what sort of advanced messaging and comms work will be done to make sure that we don't have people denied a vote by error.
Thank you. Tom?
Yep. Yeah, so due to the nature of the way the polling district boundaries have changed and certain streets might have moved from one polling district to another, it's very difficult and would require a significant amount of work to make an exact number of the number of electors and therefore properties that have moved. However, as a rough estimate, it would be around about 10% of the electorate of the district. And that would be mainly concentrated in the kind of urban areas. So in rural areas, usually the polling district is the parish. So that, you know, the changes will have been mainly in the kind of towns. In terms of how we're communicating that, obviously, I mean, you mentioned around poll cards will have the new polling station on them, and we'll also make sure that in addition to listing the polling station address, we'll have messaging around the lines. You know, you may have had a polling station change as such to direct people to make sure they actually do kind of check the polling station address and that it is, you know, it might have changed. Equally, we'll be doing a lot of social media publicity around this and stuff on our website. We've looked at including bits in the Winter Outlook around messaging, but you know, you might have had a polling station change. And equally, in recent elections, we've looked at using more kind of use of e-com, so emails, text messages, where we hold that information for registered electors. So we'll be looking to use this kind of information and get messaging out there by that means as well.
Councillor Levitt.
Thank you, Chair. Question along very similar lines, actually. And as you said, there is the polling station printed on the cards that people get. People don't always read that if they're so used to going to the same place year after year after year. Not everybody's on social media and looks at that particular type. I'd just like to make a simple suggestion that where a polling station has changed or it's moved somewhere, that on the day of the poll, that a nice big notice is stuck on the door of the existing place, if the owner permits, and says your polling station is now at. Nice, easy, simple thing for people to follow, because I was acted as a presiding officer for many years before I became a councillor. And doesn't matter how often you send letters and things out, people are so used to going to the same place, they will always go there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we'll.
Councillor Dennis.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to be slightly parochial and just look at my own ward in Walsworth, specifically the proposals around Chaucer Way. going to be tiny bit pedantic, I think, Tom, because my recollection of at least something that one member said wasn't necessarily in favour of moving Chaucer Way or leaving Chaucer Way where it was. It was more that kind of classic sitting on the fence, because we do know that residents of Chaucer Way, a lot of them walk to the polling station, and it is easier for them to get to the existing polling station at the church than it might be for them to head all the way through to the community centre at St Michael's, which, you know, is also a longer driving route than just sort of the route that you would take if you were exiting Chaucer Way and coming out past the church that way as well. So I just sort of wanted to make sure that that point was on record, but generally very much thank you for the huge amount of effort.
Is there a question there, Councillor Dennis?
Yeah. Oh, yes, sorry. I just want to be assured that we are, again, making sure that those residents whose polling places have changed and might be inconvenienced to a certain extent, especially bearing in mind mobility needs, are going to have plenty of advance warning, support, advice, and we have taken that into consideration, including perhaps disability issues when making these decisions.
Yeah, that's been factored into the decision.
Councillor Wright Mason.
Yeah, just sort of continuing on what Councillor Thomas and Councillor Levitt were saying, is there any scope sort of around training of the polling clerks? I know obviously there's going to be a big cultural change anyway with voting for 3 people, so I was just wondering if poll clerks could be informed of where people might be going to a different polling station and maybe correct them if they've gone to the wrong place.
Yeah, so the specific training around where polling stations are changing. Yeah, I mean that is included in our training because I mean you know that's something that does come up on polling day anyway, and we refer to that for our training. And obviously as well on polling day we have like a polling station finder tool on our website, and we give out business cards that refer to that. So we have different ways that poll clerks or presiding officers, whatever it may be, in the stations are able to assist electors if they do, for instance, turn up at the wrong polling station.
Tom, thank you very much for taking those questions. Now, this time I am going to say that the recommendation is that the council designates the polling districts and polling places as per the returning officer's proposals attached as Appendix A to the submitted report, effective as of the 1st of December 2023. May I have a proposer, Councillor Willoughby?
Yep, still happy to propose, Chair. And again, thank you for all of your diligence and hard work on this, Tom and the team.
May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Brown.
Happy to second, and again, thank you for all your work on this.
May I pass to the debate? Does anyone have anything that they would like to say? Councillor Hone.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm pleased to see that the comments that we made around the Letchworth Southwest William Village Hall, William, which I know was staffed by 3 officers in the last election, and we didn't have many people go through there because many of the residents of William do have postal votes. So yes, we discussed alternatives. We could not find alternatives myself with officers, and you can imagine I was involved in that because of my county responsibilities for William at the time. So I'm pleased to see that we're going to retain it. Yes, I realise that they can still play darts and Monopoly in there, which is what the officers were doing because it was very, very slow in there. But it's going to be retained, which is a good thing. So thank you for doing that.
Retention is very important. Thank you. Councillor Mason.
Thank you. I decided I wouldn't try and pretend to make mine into a question. I can wait. First of all, I wanted to thank Tom actually for the work you've done, and your colleagues for Alton Ward and the bit of Priory Ward that's coming into Alton. Much as I tried, I was struggling to think of anywhere. We've only got 2 public buildings in that area, and neither of them wanted to become a polling station, much to my annoyance. But I think the solution you've come up with is a really practical one. Should work really well. I just wanted to thank you for the work you've put in to do that. My general point was, as people have touched on, it's going to be a big year next year. Lots of changes. So some people are going to have new polling districts, new polling stations. People will be voting for 2 or 3 candidates if they wish, in a way they're not used to doing. And of course, the wretched voter ID, which we're still stuck with. Sorry, is that political? So there's a whole lot of stuff there going on, and obviously, you know, I know your department have a lot of work, and just ask that you keep us as members informed of what's going on with that, and obviously any support that you need from us.
Thank you very much. We've had some excellent questions and some points in the debate. As I don't see anybody else looking to speak at the moment, may I go to the vote, please?
Yeah, that motion is carried.
Thank you very much. Move on to item 10, the Constitutional Amendment Report. Jeanette Thompson to present the item, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'll start with a positive because I know that members have read this report because I've had notice of quite a few amendments, which you all will have seen. So you know that the summary of the report of what the proposals are in terms of the executive summary. And I think it might be easier because we have so many proposed amendments that we deal with them and you know, where it's unclear, because there'll be quite a few of them, I might ask questions, Chair, just to make sure that it's clear after some have been proposed and seconded, just to make sure that members are aware what's being voted on before you go to any vote on any of the amendments. I am going to put forward that you deal with the recommendations effectively, each one separately, just to make sure that it's clear what we're voting on, if that's okay. And hopefully we'll all have enough patience to get through and make all the appropriate amendments.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Please note that we will be taking each debate and vote on the recommendations separately. Councillor Brown.
Jeanette just referred to a lot of amendments. I don't know that those have been circulated. Did you think they had? I don't believe I've seen us circulated. Have I missed something?
It looks like they weren't. I'm sorry about
dear.
that.
Please just give me one moment while I have a brief discussion. Right. I am of the opinion as chair that we cannot look at this and vote on this when we have not had time to read the amendments properly. I'm not willing to go through with this. Therefore, I am going to push this back to January's meeting. I do apologise, but I feel that this is not the correct way to go about the business of today. So we will be pushing this back until January. In that case, we're going to move on to item 11, the medium-term financial strategy. Councillor Ian Albert to present the referral from Cabinet.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And with your permission, if I can do the referral and move the paper at the same time, is that with your agreement?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean the cabinet referral, which you'll see as a supplementary paper to the agenda, is really obviously mainly for noting. Obviously, is that the cabinet approved the paper. We obviously discussed the document, asked a number of questions. But clearly, I think the main detail that we want to obviously consider is in the report, and obviously Cabinet are recommending the medium-term financial strategy to Council here this evening. First of all, I think in moving the agenda item 11, I want to thank. I think first of all, I want to thank Ian Cooper and his team for all their work on the strategy, and obviously the continuing financial reporting. I think we are blessed with having such a good finance team here. It makes a huge difference, I think, and I'm sure all of us here will endorse and thank Ian for all the work they've done. Obviously, also like to thank Sean Nolan and the members of the Finance Committee for some colleagues here will have had a chance to have a look at that as well. The very detailed way that the Finance Committee, I think, went through the documentation here and asked a range of questions on the strategy to Ian and myself. So again, obviously, thanks to them. I think it shows the importance, obviously, having that scrutiny process of the strategy. I'd like to say to move the strategy here this evening, Chair. And I don't intend to spend sort of too long on the paper. I think it's an important document. It's a document that sets out the importance of our plans over the period, and it also sets out the strategy for that medium term period. We would, I think, and as I said in other meetings, like to be able to have more certainty about our funding, have more and be able to plan both medium and the longer term. That I think is not at the moment, and I think, and I'm not here making party political points. I think this is something for all, I think, local government, local authorities, I think, agree that actually that we need more certainty about the funding and the ability to make decisions locally, and having that certainty on our funding going forward is a vital part of being able to control our budgets and set out to residents the kind of services that we want to deliver. The strategy is attached to an Appendix A. It sets out, as I say, our medium-term budget position and how the identified funding gap will be addressed. It contains a number of assumptions and would depend on future decisions and events. And this, of course, includes the funding from government, which will depend on, well, we were seeing there was going to be the autumn statement, but there wasn't really much in the autumn statement, really, but particularly will depend on the local government funding settlement later in the year. I think that you'll see from the strategy, it sets out that the way that we intend to try and maintain our existing services, but I think it also sets out the clear challenges that the council that have in going forward. There are, I think, it's no secret to say there obviously are pressures on our budget going forward, and obviously new contracts that come along may well add to those pressures in the future. I think it's also worth saying is that I think it's a tribute to this administration, but in fairness to say to our predecessors as well, that we actually our general fund is strong, and it gives us the ability to be able to deliver and take prudent, sensible decisions at the right time. And that means that we've got until 28-29 to balance our budgets. That gives us, because our general fund is strong, we do have the reserves to actually make the decisions at the right time, make the decisions in the light of information, whether it's the decisions around the new contract, decisions on local government funding settlement, and indeed, obviously, in the future on the local government funding formula, which is well and long awaited. So I think what we've tried to do here, I think, is set out a pragmatic position that actually balances our budgets in the longer term, but recognises that there are absolutely clear and key challenges going forward on our revenue area. We'll also finally, and I'd like to mention, we clearly will need to look closely at our capital programme. It is likely that that we will, in reviewing that programme, that the reality is that we may well need to borrow by certainly the latest by 25, 26. And so I think it will be important to actually challenge and keep under scrutiny all our capital programs to ensure that they, as they sit alongside the council delivery plan, that they are done at the right time and with the right speed and with the right priority. And that prioritization exercise that we are doing, as discussed with scrutiny, will be an important part of that process. So, Chair, I think I'd like to move the recommendations in the report that the council accepts the medium term and adopts the medium term financial strategy. I think it will be a challenge. It will be a challenge for any administration of this council in the future. And that's why I hope that we can work collectively, cross-party, in actually delivering what are important services that our residents value, and actually consulting them where we need to make any changes to those services. But I commend the paper in front of you, and happy to obviously answer questions. And obviously Ian Cooper is also here to answer any technical questions that colleagues may have. I move.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Councillor Albert, please? Councillor Hone.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Albert, for very detailed discussions and reports, which, yes, we went through it far in great detail, and that took the opportunity then to make comments, as you can imagine. I'm looking at page 149 of the strategy, addressing our funding gap, where we make it very clear, of course, we can't do anything until 24, 25, and give various reasons for it. Of course, I'm sure it's not because there's an election cycle, which is all out elections, and we don't want to scare the public. I'm sure that's not the case. However, it does ask questions, doesn't it? Can I go through them? What some of them being able to generate additional income? I'm not terribly sure where we can generate additional income, so I'm interested to know that. Being able to generate income from commercial activities. I think we'd be in direct competition with perhaps businesses who are better at doing it than us. So I'd like some ideas of what we could do there if we could. Reducing the level of service we provide. Do we have any ideas of what we might be looking at other than moving bin collections to 3 weekly? Do we have any other ideas what might be on those lists? So they're the three things, really, if I can share through you to Councillor Albert.
Councillor Albert.
Thanks, Chair. Well, I say the first point is that clearly we believe here that they're actually taking decisions at the right time, and in the right period, and being able to consult with residents is the right way forward. And we have the time, and we are fortunate enough to have the time to do that. So I can only use the words of that fine Chancellor.
Sorry, I am going to stop you there, Councillor Albert. Could you answer the question directly, please?
I am, Chair. I'll answer the question about why we can't do these things more immediately. And that is not about an electoral cycle. This is about a spending cycle, and taking decisions at the right and the appropriate time. We will always look for areas that we can generate commercial activity, and those will be brought forward when we can. There is a range of things that have come through the scrutiny committee as they've talked to the enterprise team that are actually on the have been on the table, and the enterprise team have been looking at, and that work will continue. And when we've got formal proposals, that will come to those to full council and for any decisions that are required.
Thank you, Councillor Albert. I don't see any further questions at the moment. Therefore, the recommendation is the council adopts the medium-term financial. Councillor Munster, you've left it too late. I'm afraid you'll have to take part in the debate. The council adopts the medium-term financial strategy as attached at Appendix A. The referral for Cabinet is the same recommendation as included in the council report. May I have a proposer, please? And you did propose it as you went through, Councillor Albert. My apologies. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Barnes.
Yeah, happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. May we go through to the debate, please? Councillor Munster.
Thank you. Well, this was supposed to be a question, but I will put it into a format for a debate because sort of reading through this document, there are a number of significant financial risks, particularly surrounding the Churchgate project, obviously the waste contract and the leisure contract. And I hope that what we're going to be seeing when we are going through budgets and the like is resilience built into those budget for the variety of different options that could entail, because particularly surrounding the waste contract, and this was something discussed at overview and scrutiny, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, was the potential for significant cost implications for the council if there are statutory guidance or legislative changes. And I think that's a really, really important factor that we need to be aware of. And particularly surrounding these financial risks, it's about communication. It's about communicating with our members. It's about communicating with the public, but equally as well, it's about scrutiny. And Councillor Albert mentioned the importance of the financial FAR, but also as well going through overview and scrutiny. I'm looking forward to obviously sort of seeing those proposals. Contained within the report, though, it is clear that there are funding pressures on local authorities, and that's something of which we all know. Perhaps it's time we consider reform to local government, because there is a solution to this problem, and it is abolishing this authority altogether. and
Yeah,
having a
I'm afraid I'm
unitary
going to stop you
authority.
there, Councillor Munster,
Well-
because that isn't something that is suitable for the debate at the moment. Does anybody else wish to speak on the debate? Right, in that case, can I please ask that we go to the vote that the council adopts the medium-term financial strategy as attached at Appendix A?
Yeah, that motion is carried.
Thank you. I am now going to propose that we take a short break while we reset the camera system so that we can try and get it so people can see us online. So we will take a 5-minute comfort break now. Thank you.
So there's the answer.
So what I'm going to do after today, obviously Jeanette's not very well. Can I have sight of all of those amendments? Let's look at.
I'm really sorry, I didn't know I put that on your side. I do apologize. Right, if I can ask everyone to start making their way back to their seats, please. Oh, we look a bit more zoomed in. This looks like it has worked. There is that. Try and get a flex on. Right. Chanel, I think I'm ready to go live. Are we live? Yeah. We are live. Wonderful. And it would appear that we are zooming in a little bit better, which I'm not sure if it's a good thing for people that are watching or not. We shall move on to item number 12, use of urgency in relation to call-in for decision on business rate pooling. Ian Cooper to present, please.
Thank you, Chair. This seems to be a report I bring every year. Business rate pooling, we tend to get notified quite late and have a limited time to make a decision. So by the time we've got the information from county council and the other districts, and we have no time. So therefore, it's necessary to use urgency to be able to then notify government of our intention to enter into business rate pool. I obviously sought permission from the chair to be able to do that, and under the constitution, I'm required therefore to report it to council at the next regular meeting, which is what this report does.
That was nice and succinct. Thank you. Are there any questions? No. In that case, the recommendation is that council notes the use of urgency provisions in relation to the business rate pooling decision made on the 9th of October 2023. May I have a proposer, please? Councillor Albert.
Happy to move, Chair.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Barnes.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you very much. In that case, may we go to the debate, please? I do not see any debate at the moment, and bearing in mind what this is, I can understand why, in which case, may I please go to the vote?
Chair, that motion is carried.
Unanimously, thank you. Item 13. The Electoral Services Scale of Fees 2024-25. And Jeanette Thompson has left the meeting for this item. Thank you. Ian Cooper to present.
Thank you, Chair. This might be slightly longer than the last item. So the report itself sets out the various fees that we need to set in relation to elections, the scale of fees for 24-25, which will cover all electoral events within that year, as there will be at least 2 national elections in relation to the Police and Crime Commissioner and the general election in that period. The fees, as they were last year, will be set so that they will work for both sets of elections, which means reflecting the guidelines on fees from DULUC. The report itself, in the sort of first part of section 8, comments on the fact that they have had feedback on a few areas where fees need to be proposed to be slightly changed to reflect that feedback, and then that feeds through into the appendix. It is necessary to just highlight that at the time of writing the report, we did not have the latest rate for the national living wage from 1st of April 2024 onwards. We now have that, and therefore it is proposed that rather than the sort of TBCs that are in the appendix as it stands, that those rates for the poll clerk, porter, administration and canvassers be set at £12.83, which is the national living wage plus the appropriate percentage for holiday pay, to make sure those rates are compliant with that legislation. And then the last thing covered by the report is in relation to uncontested elections in parish, community and town councils. So probably worth just highlighting that in the main appendix, as in the scale of fees, where it's in section 11, it's not that clear in relation to that bit there. So just confirm that section 11 of that does relate to uncontested town, parish and community council elections. This is a new proposal, which is there to basically ensure that those councils pay a fair contribution towards the work involved in those elections when they're uncontested. There is still work involved, as has been set out in the report. The Appendix B does cover the feedback from those parish council, from those councils that responded to that request, as well as our comments on those. So on that basis, that is my introduction to the report, and obviously happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on this, please? No. Oh, excellent. Councillor Griffiths.
Thank you very much, Chair. I was wondering if there could be any thoughts, Mr. Cooper, about whether these rates would rise over the upcoming years. Thank you.
Yes, it's an annual report, so it comes back each year to set the fees for the following year.
Thank you, Ian. Councillor Peace.
Yeah, may I just add some comments that have been received from Holwell Parish Council late, which is that...
Is it a comment or a question?
It's a question. May I add their comment because it's not in the paper?
Okay.
They just wanted to comment that they haven't had a contested election for many years and that the fee sounded rather high for a council of their size. Thank you.
Right. That's the end of the questions. Therefore, the recommendation is the council agree the scale of fees for 24-25 as set out in Appendix A to include the following amendments. Section 11, uncontested parish, town and community council elections. And Amendment 2, the rates for poll clerk, porter, admin and canvassers to be set at £12.83. May I have a proposer with the above amendment? Councillor Willoughby.
Happy to propose, Chair. Reserve my right to speak.
And a seconder, Councillor Albert.
Happy to second, Chair, and again reserve the right to speak.
May we move on to the debate, please? Councillor Munson.
Thank you, Chair. It will come as no surprise to members that I am incredibly passionate about making sure that our rural communities are heard and that they get the support of which they need, that they get a fair deal from this district council. Because if you speak to a number of parish councils and residents in rural communities, they do tend to feel like actually they are the poor relation when compared to those who live in the urban core. And I do think that this is a policy that is going to be penalising parish councils. In Kimpton, for example, a resident in Kimpton will pay more council tax than someone who lives in Hitchin because of the parish precept. Now, the parish precept provides essential hyper-local services that the district council doesn't provide at all, or the district council chooses to provide in the town centres. And the issue that I have with this is that it is going to be a tax rise of which it's going to be passed on to the parish councils, and the parish councils are going to be increasing the precept, and that means that our residents are going to be having to pay for this. The fact remains that a district council has this statutory responsibility to provide elections and the administration regarding the elections. Therefore, in my submission, the costs should be borne by that local authority, by North Hertfordshire District Council. So on that basis, I'm not going to be supporting this, and I'd urge colleagues to reject.
Thank you. Councillor Levitt.
Thank you. It's more of a point of clarification, actually, which just come up that I've just noticed. On 10.7, it says parish and town councils currently elect by thirds. I think that's slightly wrong. I think they don't elect by thirds. I think a third of them get elected every year, but they don't elect by thirds like we currently do. Is that correct?
They don't elect further their councils, but 1/3 of our parishes. Sorry, yeah. So as you said, when a parish is up, the whole of that parish is up, but the parishes are up spread out across the 3 years. They're not all up at the same time.
Thank you. And thank you for putting that across, Tom. I don't see any other names up wishing to speak. No. Okay. In that case, may we go to the vote, please?
Yeah, that motion is carried.
Thank you. And that brings the meeting to a slightly earlier close than we were expecting. I would like to say that the next full council meeting is on the 25th of January 2024. Before we leave, could I just note that I believe everybody will have found a little early Christmas gift on the table. We have some badges. These are... Oh, I'd be careful what you say about that, because that was audible, and I will definitely be coming back to you on that. Would you like to say that out loud on the microphone, please, Councillor Munster? Thank you.
No.
Oh, come on, have the courage of your conviction. I'm a district councillor and I'm happy to chat and help, is what it says on the badges. Please wear these when you are at the different community events you attend. It is really helpful for members of the public to be aware. Councillor Munster.
I will just say, I do think that these are a waste of money, because if you're a district councillor, you should be visible in your community anyway. Residents should know who you are and you should be actively speaking to them. That's my personal opinion. I don't need a badge to tell people who I am, in my community at least.
In that case, Councillor Albert.
Can I say, I understand Councillor Munster's view. I'm deeply sad. Tomorrow is 1 year since Judy Billing died. This was Judy's pet idea to actually create a badge, having seen what other local authorities do around the country, because she toured extensively many local authorities. And she felt that actually that this was something that would be valued. I think I found it a really useful thing to have. And I think it is really quite sad, actually, that to hear Councillor Munster's views. I do hope he retract them, because I think this is a really valuable tool for councillors. Right. And I say it's deeply saddened me that when we're 1 year away.
And I'm going to point out that this isn't actually a thing that's up for debate. I was giving the councillor an opportunity to speak on the microphone because they wanted to be heard. I'm going to close the meeting. The next full council meeting is on the 25th of January 2024. I would like to wish everybody, it's a bit early for this, isn't it? We'll go with happy holidays. There's a lot of them. Merry Christmas and a happy new year. Thank you very much. Good night.